How's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 197. I did a Skype interview with Aaron Pesin, also known as Happy the Clown, also known as Granny Goose. Aaron and I talked about all sorts of fascinating things, what drew him to being a clown, the difference between clowns and jesters, the idea of the masks that we wear, what it takes to make people happy. We talked about the idea of fear of clowns and horror movie clowns and all that. He's an interesting guy, and I'm excited for you to hear this episode. He does talk about an event that's happening in New York. The Sean Casey Animal Rescue is bringing the Big Easy to the Big Apple. It's for animal lovers from all over the New York City community. They're invited to attend. I'm reading this right now, right off the copy. They're invited to attend a colorful and celebratory Mardi Gras party at Shenanigans Pub in Kensington, Brooklyn on Tuesday, February 25th. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So it's a fundraiser for Sean Casey Animal Rescue, which is a great cause. Must be 21 years old to attend. If you're in New York, definitely go to that. Sounds like a lot of fun. And again, for a good cause. Animals are the best. Usual stuff, social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can find Hey Human Podcast. And for my personal social media, you look for Susan Ruthism on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Email me, susan@heyhumanpodcast.com. Love to hear from you. Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Check out Susan Ruth if you want to learn more about my music or performing or my artwork. And check out the links page on heyhumanpodcast.com to learn more about all the people that I talk to. I curate a very specific, intentional links page. You'll find articles and books and information. And I'm going to go find a better eyelash article from last week's episode and stick that on there, because apparently I did not pick a great eyelash, body gobbling up eyelashes informational article. So I'm going to look for a better one and put that up there. Thank you everyone for listening. I really appreciate it. And a special thank you to those who donate to Hey Human Podcast. It's an ad-free show and your support is humongous. And I wouldn't be able to keep doing this without you. So thank you for that. If you'd like to support Hey Human, please do so with the donate button on heyhumanpodcast.com. Thank you so much. Let's get into this. Here we go. Aaron Pesin, welcome to Hey Human.
Thank you.
You look very bright and colorful today.
Yeah, these are some of my clown clothes.
I love it. Do you wear that generally when you're out and about, or do you reserve it for special clowning occasion?
You know, I liken myself to be like a superhero, but where I'm trying to be less like that, where being a clown was like my secret identity and it was like completely separate from me. So over the years, I've been kind of trying to merge, because I do love wearing wild stuff. So it's part of my evolution, trying to merge the clown as being part of me.
I learned about you through Robbie Quinn, who's an exceptional photographer who I knew from Nashville, but of course he and his wife Kate live in New York now. And he, on his Instagram, I saw a series of pictures of you, of portraits of you, at the beach. And you were celebrating, was it a birthday or just the New Year?
No, it's an annual tradition. The Polar Bear Club started. They've been around for like 100 years, and it was sort of this exclusive, private, very small club. And then where they just have like a bunch of people that go like from once it starts getting cold in November, and then they jump in the water in like 30-degree weather, and it caught on, and now like it's a rite of passage for a lot of people. They made it a tradition now. It turned from like a small thing to thousands of people go, and it's a big. I got inspired. I started going, and I would just paint. I just started painting like the letters, like doing body paint. And then I started doing more and more, and this was the first year I decided just to go on full clown. There's lots of people go there dressed up. characters and stuff.
What made you decide to do the polar bear thing?
To like kind of overcome my fear of, first of all, I have social anxiety, so being around 1,000 people. And I always, on New Year's Day, I'm always like, what do I do today? I'm off. I have nothing to do. And every time on New Year's Day, it always feels like a blur. So this is kind of like a way of like commemorating it.
Do you remember your first expedition into the water, which I assume is freezing cold?
Yes, it felt like a bunch of little tiny needles all over my body.
I can't believe I do not have what it takes, the metal, as it were, to do that. I don't like being in cold water, firstly, and secondly, it just that's beyond, because you don't warm up as soon as you get out because the weather is so abysmal too.
Yeah.
I suppose there's something about being caught up in the group dynamic that makes you forget all that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you get swept away.
How many times have you done it?
This was my third time.
Is it different every time?
It was different because I did it with a red nose that was sealed onto my nose. So I when I went into the water and I dunked, all the water filled up into my red nose, and I almost like suffocated.
Oh no!
Would have been, yeah, I would have almost had to give a CPR to a clown. Don't go in the water with nose glue with a red nose on yet.
Oh you grew up then in New York. Did you have a fun childhood or intense one, or?
This very dysfunctional family, broken family, dealt with a lot of addictions and parents that weren't fully present because of that. So the way that I kind of survived and escaped was to like create other characters and perform. And my parents were rageaholics, so the way I kept them happy was every time they would get angry at me, I would say or do something to make them laugh. So it was like a natural defense for me to become like kind of a comedian, entertainer.
Did it work? Did they?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like every time my mother would be about to hit me, I'd say, "Hold it! See that sign up there? It says do not hit Aaron." And then she'd laugh. And I was saying this at like 2-3 years old, and it became like my superpower. Like, and I use it now. Like whenever I'm in a situation where I feel stressed out or people around me are not acting right, I just kind of say or do something, and it kind of disarms everybody. Has
it ever not disarmed them? Has it ever gotten them more angry?
Yes, especially if you make a joke to an angry bus driver who's trying crowded bus and trying to make everybody go back. And yeah, so I sometimes I have to like tone it down a little bit or stop.
You have to know your audience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Did you pursue acting, or was it always clown?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of fell into clowning because I was a very frustrated actor. I was always performing in school plays, and when I got into high school, I was the lead. In 6th grade, I played Tevye, Fiddler on the Roof, and I got a swelled head. I thought I was going to be like this big star, but then once I got into the higher grades, all of the favoritism and cliques and everything, I got so discouraged from it. And I kind of gave it up after high school. And then in my 20s, when I lost my job working as an orderly in the hospital, and I just kind of went into it full time from there, and took workshops. I went to entertainment agencies. I started freelancing. I took like Balloon Animals 101, and that's how I got started. I've been doing it 25 years now. I'm 50 now. I started in 1995 when I was 25.
Do you feel that the perception of clowns, especially, the people either love them or they hate them, they're used metaphorically a lot in story, obviously. Mm-hmm. Do you find that you've had to battle with that clownism, if you will?
Yeah, and it's now where like kids will say or do something to challenge me to make sure that I'm safe. And it almost seems like a conspiracy because no matter where I am, how many years pass, there's always like a couple of questions that kids will just throw at me. And the biggest one is, "You're not a real clown." And they never seem to know what they mean by that, but it's kind of a very big question I always get at any party, anywhere I am. "You're not a real clown." So I've come up with a few answers to that that kind of make the kids feel good from that.
What's your answer to that?
Well, if they're like preschool level, 2-3 years old, I'll make like a teaching lesson out of it and say, "Well, what's a clown?" And then they'll say, "Well, it makes people happy." And I'll say, "You could all be clowns. We all could be clowns." But if it's older kids that are being, smart asses, I'll say either, "You're not a real kid," or I'll say, "You're right. I am not real. I am a robot." And I'll start doing like a clown robot thing and say like, "Yes, I have batteries in the back," and just I like what you said earlier. Know your audience.
You began your... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say one of the funniest things that ever happened, I realized like I have to be careful because this image of a clown, like kids really pay attention to. It's like an instant spotlight that I have. So wherever I am, it's like kind of like a celebrity. Like if a celebrity walks into a bathroom, you notice it. So I noticed that when I started walking into bathrooms, kids would follow me. And I like if I went to use the urinal, they would laugh at me or they'd freak out. Like the clown's not supposed to do that. And one time I went into the stall because I saw a kid was following me in, so I went into the stall, and the kid was I saw the kid going in the stall next to me, and he was knocking on the metal on the door, and I didn't answer, and he said, "Mr. Clown." I didn't answer back. He said, "I was just wondering, do you pee rainbows?" It was one of the funniest things a kid ever said to me. I had to like hold my mouth so I wasn't hysterically laughing in the bathroom. But I realized like I don't take my my mantle of a clown lightly. It really affects everyone around me, and it good or bad.
The idea that you are around children so much, have you had to deal with that? I mean, if kids are following you into the bathroom, that starts getting into how do you deal with that, and how do you let people feel safe? I think it's an interesting thing because we operate in a world where our monsters look obvious, and then sometimes they're dressed as clowns. So
yeah, I think it's like just don't be in someone's face. Like I've when I first started out as a clown, I'd be like, at the party trying to win the kid over that's in the corner crying, and I realized that and then getting trained by other clowns, if you just start talking and just show your personality, basically your humanity comes through. I think that's the thing. It's like people react to me in shock because they're not used to seeing a clown in public. And they react as if like I'm this unreal creature. Like I feel like sometimes like an alien from another planet. The way people react to me, because I'll get the gamut of every reaction. If I'm on the train, people will come in and they'll run out screaming, or I'll get people crying, or I'll get people or the opposite. People will just come up and hug me. And say I made their day. You get everything, and I think it's like I'm just a walking sculpture or art. And they don't see me as a human. So once I start talking, the answer is just to start. I just organically just start talking, and they see like I'm that I'm. It's not a mask. That's the thing. I do my makeup in such a way that I've tried to tone it down, and I have had to offer to parents over the years, if the kids are like 2-3 years old, I've had to say, do you want minimal makeup or do you want no makeup? Now, a lot of clowns won't even do makeup. A lot of them won't even do a nose anymore because the kids are so afraid. Basically, if you look in society now, almost all remnants of what the traditional clown is gone. Ringling Brothers is gone. The Big Apple Circus here in New York, they don't have clowns anymore. Ronald McDonald is phased out. So all we're left with is the negative killer clowns. And
I feel like Ringling Brothers was phased out because of the animals, not so much because of the clowns. Do you?
Yeah.
What is?
I'm saying, you can't even meet a clown in public anymore because Ringling Brothers is not there. You can't even see a face-to-face clown.
What is the history that drew you in? What can you speak to the history of clowning? It's different than gesturing, I assume.
Well, gesturing is more like performance art with like jugglers. It's not necessarily looking like a clown. The gestures don't necessarily have clown nose. That's more of like an acrobatic circus thing. I think, I actually could pinpoint the first time I really thought like I want to be a clown. I was watching Robin Williams as in Mork and Mindy, 1977, and with his shirt like this and all the suspenders and everything. And I remember saying to my mother, "That's who I want to be." And I didn't know it at the time, but like he inspired me to basically be a clown. He was my first role model.
It's interesting that you bring that up because thinking of Robin Williams' personality, a great comic, a tragic loss. I cried so hard when he passed. But that he did very much embody the clown spirit.
Yeah.
And we know now that it was a response to masking pain, his own emotional trauma. One of the things that drew me to you was on Robbie's post that you had said that you became Happy is your clown name, that you became Happy the Clown as a response to feeling lost or invisible and vulnerable. And
I was actually diagnosed with clinical depression, and then a few months later said I'm going to be happy.
Literally.
I said I'm going to put a smile on my face.
How long before it started to work that the personification became the reality? Because you talked about merging clownness with your selfness. How long did that take before that intersection bonded?
It's still a process. You know, it's kind of like the way people feel with drugs or alcohol, where like they need the it's like a crutch. They need that drug to be able to be themselves or to have their inhibitions. And I remember I was visiting friends, and I surprised them as a clown, and they never saw me like that. And they're like, "Wow, why aren't you like this as yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, I am." And they're like, "No, you're not. You're so much more freer." And that was about 3 years ago. And it made me really think about like, why does the clown nose make me just want to be, something more? And I feel like it's almost like I'm not enough the way I am, and that's kind of what I was brought up with because of my, being in a kind of an abusive family situation that the unconditional love didn't seem to come until I had to like audition every day to show that I was entertaining enough, funny enough. So I have a lot of emotional awareness because I've been doing support groups and therapy for years. And so, but I'm wired that way to like, and today I was like torn, like, no one's going to be interested to just see me. I was going to put the clown face on and everything. I'm like, no, I just want to just try being me. Well,
you're perfect just as you are. And the interesting thing is you didn't become the clown. To me, the clown was always the desire to bring love and acceptance and joy to people. You said, as we first started talking, you said that you worked as an orderly. You worked around people in a hospital. People aren't drawn to things like that unless they are of service. You started out in service rehabilitation specialist. Is that something you do now, or was that then?
That's what I do now, which it basically, I'm in what they call a DAHAP program for special needs adults. Most of them have autism and Down syndrome. And and they're like, young adults in their 20s. And it's basically, I could be a big kid with them, and they appreciate it. And it gives them permission to be kids, because a lot of them, their parents, don't want them to act like kids, even though that's like how they naturally are. So I sing Mr. Rogers songs with them, and, do silly voices and bring my puppets in. And yeah, it's good. I can do that as myself. I've done it with them as a clown too, but it's the only job I feel I've had where I could use all my talents and abilities. And my bosses, it's like whatever I want to try to get through to them. We're basically there just to encourage them to advocate for themselves, speak up for themselves, and be as independent as possible.
I bet you learn a lot from them.
I do. I feel very grateful, because I see that they're blocked, they're limited because of their intellectual disability. That if they're feeling upset about something, they don't understand it's because it's been cloudy out for 5 days in a row, and that they're depressed, and they're just acting out, and they're like tortured by it. So it makes me grateful that I'm able to be aware of why I feel the way I feel.
I watched a video the other day. It was a baby laughing hysterically at its mother sneezing. And so the mom kept sneezing, pretend sneezing, just to make the baby laugh. And I thought, in the moment, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world or the least smartest. It doesn't matter. Love is pure. Laughter is pure. And it really does cross all the things.
Yeah, and I talking about kids. Now I have my clown apprentice is my 16-year-old daughter. So it's brought new life into clowning for me, where I could kind of take a step back when she's with me and see how she interacts with people as a clown. It's my ex-wife does it too. I got her into it also.
Was your family accepting of you at first, saying, I want to be a clown, or did they think it was weird?
Well, my father, he didn't understand it until I started making money. He's very business minded. Oh, okay, you're making money at it, then it's okay.
Classic dad.
Yeah, he doesn't understand. I'm not doing it for the money. I'll just sit at a playground sometimes making balloon animals. I'll put a tip jar out, and I don't really care if I get money or not. It's for me, it's the interaction. And sometimes I have the best, most the real interactions with kids just that come up to me as I'm making the balloon animals at the park. A few months ago, I was doing that, and this kid comes up to me. He's like 4 or 5 years old, and he says, "Why are you here?" And I looked at him and I said, "I don't know. You have to ask God that." And he just looked up in the sky and just walked away, scratching his head.
How do adults take kids out of the picture for a second? Because kids still have wonder and a sense of play and all that stuff. When you deal with adults, I'm assuming that you do clowning for adults in certain, because I think I saw that you do some corporate stuff.
I've done it more for fun with adults. I haven't done any. I do background acting as a clown for adults, but the clowning that I do it for charity work. So I went to a bar in December for a Christmas party for a fundraiser for Sean Casey Animal Shelter. They were raising money for the animal shelter. So that was kind of interesting. A lot of drunk people trying to top me and act more, crazy than me. I don't know if they were doing it because they were drunk or
Probably.
But
I think that grown-ups especially have a real problem feeling joy. I think there's a lot of guilt in joy for some strange reason. And if they see you, the clown, trying to pull that out of them, our response to fear is generally anger. So if I'm afraid to feel joy, then I will likely act out on the thing that's trying to make me feel joy. Do you get that out there in the world?
Oh, definitely. I mean, just like when people look at me as a clown and they don't know what's behind the mask, I'm on my side feeling the same way about them. So there was a very proper looking, typical Asian family, mother, son, and kid, and like 10-year-old kid, and they were on the train. And I've been bringing my balloon animals with me wherever I go, whether I'm a clown or not. And because I've been trying to just do it for fun, just to connect with people. And my daughter has been kind of tolerating it because she gets embarrassed, and then she's nervous that we're going to be bothering people. So she was stopping me. She's like, "Don't do that! Don't do it!" So I made the balloon animal sword for the kid. I handed it to the kid, and he's just kind of waving the balloon in the air like this, by basically fighting with himself. So I see the father sort of just looking out into space, and then the mother and the father are just kind of like letting the kid just play by himself. And I this was 2 weeks ago, and I thought, why not give him a partner? So I started making another one, and my daughter's like, "You're gonna give that to the father? Don't do that! Don't do that!" Because and same fear I have, that like adults don't want to be bothered by it somehow. So I gave it to the father. Suddenly, he became a little kid with his kid, and he was sword fighting with him.
Oh, I love that.
And my daughter and I, it was the greatest moment. We were hysterically laughing. It was an amazing moment.
That's beautiful.
That's why I keep doing it, because I people keep surprising me how they react.
Do you remember when Robin Williams did Peter Pan, the Hook movie?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's just such a beautiful message to that, and that idea of, where do we lose it? Why? Why do we lose it?
Yeah, it's true. I go to parties, and I everyone is like off in the corners, just not doing anything. So as soon as I start pulling out a balloon, it unifies everybody. People start crowding around me, and they don't get as excited as kids and like say, "Oh, give me one." But
they want to. I guarantee it. They want to. And it just takes one. If one person is excited and one person says, "Oh, me," it gives permission. We're constantly seeking that permission and validation to touch the most essence. That's not even a word. The most deepest part of ourselves, our inner child. I mean, they talk about it in therapy all the time, and it's usually in the context of this poor broken child. And granted, our inner children are doing the best they can, and most of them are broken probably, but we don't talk to necessarily the playful child. I know some do, but on the grander scheme, it just doesn't get talked about. If you wear a rainbow on a shirt, suddenly, you get called names against LGBTQ, or you're assumed to be, and it's like, what? Happiness doesn't belong in a fringe or a whatever. Happiness, we all are deserving of it. And whatever, as they say, whatever makes your freak flag fly.
Yeah, and being a clown, it's given me an outlet to express different parts of me. So I came out a couple years ago as bisexual and then gender fluid. And I wanted to explore this female side of me. So I created an old lady clown character. And I was terrified because I live in an ultra-Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. And they like the clown when I come out as a clown because like they know what a clown is. But coming out as this old lady, I couldn't leave the house. I was practicing for a while doing this, and I had to come up. So I was inspired by Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams, to come up with this character. And once I came up with the voice, then I was okay. So I was practicing in the house, practicing in the mirror. I walked down my block to go to this charity event as this old lady clown character, and this rabbi was walking past me, and he was like looking like this, and I just went, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" And he went, "Oh, good morning, dear." And he bought it, and I was able to like pull it off all day. I just stayed in character, and it was great.
What's her
I
name?
haven't done that much, but I auditioned as that character for America's Got Talent. I went in as a singing old lady clown.
And
that was fun. Oh, now I got a letter saying, "Thank you. Try next year."
Okay. What is your female clown's name?
Granny Goose. The Granny Goose character has been more challenging because it's not. I still have some shame about acting or looking female, so it's something that's been a little bit out of my comfort zone. Happy the Clown is just more of a more hyper, joyful expression of myself. It's basically if Aaron was on speed, or some good marijuana. I don't know. Which is funny because I can't get stoned. I've tried a few times. I cannot get high.
Oh, some people can't. Some people can't. I had a friend in high school. She couldn't. She, no matter how much pot she smoked, she just never. It just, some people, it doesn't. They don't. Maybe they don't have the cannabis or what cannabinoid receptors or what cannabinoid. There it is, receptors in their brains. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's science. When you decided I'm going to become a clown full on, you said you were in your early 20s?
Yeah, exactly 25 years ago. I'm 50 now. Okay. I was 25 when I first did it. And 25, you went into your room or whatever, started putting on this character. Did Happy emerge immediately, or was Happy a process? I thought the name was going to, like, right away. Because I was starting to deal with depression, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna call myself Happy. So the name came right away. I didn't realize what an adrenaline rush it was going to be when I first decided to put this on and just be able. Because like once I put on the makeup, it inspires me. The makeup informs me how I'm going to be. Basically, does it change from? Do you change the makeup depending on your mood, or is it always the same? No, I've tried all kinds of different. I've done all kinds of different faces. I've done a full white face. When I have a beard, I do hobo, which is this with the beard, but I've probably have experimented with a couple of dozen different clown faces. There's a lot of different ways you could I'm an artist too, so it's been kind of a natural transition for me to take what I do on paper or with clay and put it on my own face. Have you ever been a scary clown? Yes, I've done that too. How did that feel? It was. I was nervous because it's like it sort of feels like almost blasphemous because I keep telling people like I don't like that they're doing this to clowns. So I did it for a commercial. I was a zombie clown, and that was fun. And they kind of like made fun of me and had like funny things done to me as a clown. Yeah, I don't think I would go as far as to like be like killer, like do. That's the thing. It's like if I can be silly and still look scary, but I wouldn't want to like be eating a child and stuff like that, like in the movie It. Yeah. And the whole thing started because of John Wayne Gacy. Mm-hmm. And which. The serial killer who was, he was a clown. And he was a very, not that they're, if you're a serial killer, you're a serial killer, but he was a particularly prolific killer. Yeah. And then he inspired Stephen King to write It.
Well, and some people just really are terrified of clowns. They don't like the idea of somebody hiding behind makeup. It must be rewarding when you see kids who are scared come around, and
it really affirms that, like, my soul and my heart and who I am comes through. Because as soon as I smile or start talking, it almost instantly makes people feel comfortable. I mean, because if I went, "Hello, kids, how you doing?" then that would be, But I very gently and warmly will just say, "Hi, how you doing?" And just saying hi, or even just waving and smiling is usually just enough. And it really because I have social anxiety and depression and all that. When I'm a clown, it affirms that, like, me just being me and just showing up and just trying to connect with people, just making the attempt. That's enough for people,
Is it enough for you? Does it work on helping to ease your anxiety and depression?
It does. But I have over the years used it as armor, like to protect myself, to hide behind it. So I have been trying to do it less and less. When I am a clown, I'll try not to cover up as much. So I won't do the wig, or I'll do less makeup. Because I do feel like sometimes the whole thing that I do, because I could completely transform myself where even my father can't recognize me.
Are your parents still alive?
Yeah.
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 Have they mellowed out?
No. I was thinking about this because I just turned 50, and I remember when they turned 50, they were kind of set in their ways. They didn't challenge themselves. They didn't do anything creative. They were like, however they were going to act, like with their habits of like watching TV all night or the ritualistic things. Basically, it hasn't changed since they were 50. And now, like, I'm 50, and I'm constantly putting myself out there and trying new things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having routine, but I think we tend to like hide behind our routine and cocoon ourselves in the house.
We can get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What is next for you? What's coming up on the horizon as a clown, as a man? Do you have big plans? Is there a next step?
Let's see, next step. Well, there are a few different ideas I've had. I'd like to write a children's book and have my character as the star, and kind of along the lines of like Curious George. Like, here's Happy the Clown, like getting into mischief and like going around the city and doing things. That's one idea. I also love the idea of like making a children's show, maybe like an online children's show of a combination of Mr. Rogers and Pee-wee's Playhouse, and with a clown as a host, with me as Happy the Clown, like Happy the Clown's Funhouse or something. I would love to bring clowning back as mainstream, in some way. That's kind of my dream. But it's also something that I'm just enjoying doing, like whenever it comes up, like not having plans. At one point, I was going to retire as a clown, and then something kept bringing me back to it. So I realized I'll always have the clown in me. I always have an opportunity to do it and want to do it.
Do you see the mantle being carried on by your daughter? Do you think she'll continue in your...
Well, she's a clown naturally, and she loves to put on makeup, and she does she does clown makeup, but she's becoming an amazing makeup artist. She's going to be 17 next week, and she does she'll put eyelashes, rainbow eyelashes, and all this stuff, and she's just I think she may not be a specific clown, but she's using it. She's studying theater and singing in school, so she's creating characters and singing and being kind of like wacky characters as she's singing. So I see I think it's inspiring her.
How did your upbringing influence how you brought her up? Because, unfortunately, a lot of times the cycles repeat, and even when we know better, our childhood gets the best of us and things. How do you keep from repeating the cycle?
Well, that's a good question. When I look at her and really sit and let her tell me what she wants, because I have this critical parent that wants to say this is what you need, and if I just sit back, she'll tell me what she needs, which is what I'm learning also from working as a counselor, direct assistant rehab specialist, whatever title it is that if you really sit and listen, anybody, even if they don't feel, even if they look like they can't tell you what they want, she does. So I never plan anything. I always I'll give her 3 or 4 different options. She lives 5 blocks away from me, so whatever, she comes over every weekend, and I'll say we can do this, or this, and it's kind of like we co-create our day together, and which is as a kid, I felt like I just had to go along for the ride, whatever my parents wanted to do, and mostly on the weekends I ended up sitting around while my father watched sports all weekend, which is why I hate sports now. I'm resentful. I went the other way. I didn't want to watch sports, and I ended up just being in my room dressing up as different characters. That's how it started. My mother started buying me. We go to flea markets, and she'd buy me wigs and noses and glasses, and I used to walk around the neighborhood dressing up as these different characters. And it was, I always was a clown, even though I didn't wear the nose.
Sure. I love that. That's great. I mean, as hard an upbringing it sounds like you had, I'm glad that she did that. Yeah, I mean, she had her problems. She still does, but she loved that I tried to make her laugh, so she didn't know why I was doing it, but she cultivated that, and I would end up going to my grandparents' house every weekend, her parents, and I would put on shows for them, and we'd make me and my cousins, we'd make a curtain, and I would be like the director. I'd have my bag of costumes. I'd put costumes on all my cousins and my brother, and I would, we would just do crazy characters, and I grew up watching The Little Rascals. So I thought that's what kids do. They put on shows. I thought I was Spanky. so it was just something I thought all kids just perform. That's what you do. Have you talked to your parents as an adult and said, hey, this was really tough for me as a kid, or do you just let that part go? It doesn't, it doesn't go anywhere, because they think they start getting too defensive and hurt. They think I'm trying to criticize them. Got it. Yeah. It's interesting how much, as I'm not a parent, I don't have kids. I've dated guys with kids, but I don't have children. But I do find that my friends with children who are lovely parents, so giving and loving, and as you say, give the child room and space and dominion over themselves and their minds. But the same people that do these wonderful things for their kids, they have difficulty doing it for themselves. Yeah, it's true. I'm glad that you're out there helping people find their joy, their light, their inner light. We need that so desperately. Yeah, and I see that people are already their knee-jerk reaction is to want to fight. Once my ex-wife was driving me to
a birthday party. This is when we were married about 15 years ago. My clown face saved our life because this guy, he pulled up and cut us off. He was coming out from the side, and my ex-wife is very aggressive, and she aggressive driver is honking him like crazy. The guy gets out of the car, and he's pounding his fist. He's just looking at my ex-wife. He doesn't even see I'm sitting in the front. Didn't think about like that she's a woman or anything. And I'm freaking out. I forgot myself what I was or how I looked. All of a sudden, I see this little hand in the front of his car waving at me. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm a clown. I start waving at the kid. The guy looks at me, waving, looks back at his kid, and then he looks up in the sky and he starts laughing. And he gets in his car and he drives away. He turned in, and he was a big hulking guy, like with muscles, the chains, a big Italian guy. And he turned into like this like, you know, like lovable, like he turned into mush after he saw his kid waving at me. So it, you know, the experiences like that is why I keep doing this.
Yeah, and I say it all the time, man. That anger impulse that people have more so than ever. If they just took 5 seconds, that a little waiting period, you know, that maybe it would dissolve on its own. People's reactions are so intense.
Yeah.
And the absurdity of that, being that angry is absurd for something like especially in the cars. My dad has the worst road rage. I'm like, Dad, take it down a notch for the love of God, you know? And I do like you try and make them laugh and try and pull them out of whatever's making them angry. And I mean, the absurdity of a clown in a car that you're trying to get into a fight with pops the bubble. It's that bubble, you know?
Yeah, I did charity work with a clown that had road rage, and I'd be sitting in the back, and he would be rolling down his window, and he has a bright orange curly wig, a giant nose. He wears a tuxedo and a little black top hat, and he's shouting at the people rolling down his window as a clown, "Up yours!" And I'm in the back hysterically laughing, and.
I mean, it just makes me. It sounds like a Larry David skit, you know, or sketch. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I've had like things happen where like it's like, okay, this is like no one would believe this. It turns into like a Seinfeld situation. One of the funniest things when I first became a clown, I was apprenticing with this guy from an entertainment agency. So he brought me to a mall to like show me how to do promotions. That's like an easy way to teach a clown. So we're going down the escalator, outside in the mall, and this guy that my mother knew, that he would get drunk a lot. He used to hang out in the bar. He was like the party guest from hell. He showed up at Christmas one year. I was dressed up as a clown. He got drunk. He was heckling me. So I kind of got my revenge. I didn't mean to, though. He was coming up the escalator on the other side. And I just went, "Hi, Dennis." And he like startles, like holds on to the railing and is like holding on, like taken aback. And I'm like, "You don't know who I am?" And he starts running down the escalator the wrong way. And the guy that's with me, he says, "Hey, this guy's really afraid of you. You should mess with him." I said, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you." And he's running, and he runs down the hall. And I thought that was the end of the story. 2 days later, I'm talking to my mother, and I told her that I ran into him, and she is hysterically laughing. She's hyperventilating. She can't stop laughing. And she's like, no wonder he did that. Turns out he shows up at the bar, tells everybody there's a clown after him. And everyone laughed at him. And it turns out that he's a paranoid schizophrenic. So he went to his psychiatrist, and they upped his medication because he had clown hallucinations.
Oh my God! Did you come clean?
My mother said she didn't want to, and she never told him.
Oh my God.
You know, I like in situations like that, I have to say I'm not responsible for how someone else reacts to me. Like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe I egged him on a little bit. But
I would say you have to be a little responsible for that one, for sure. Yeah, I think if I were going down an escalator and someone I didn't recognize who was in full clown and turned to me and said, "Hello, Susan," I would be like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the power that I could have over people, and I respect that power now. Kind of like Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can people find you?
Happy the Clown Entertainment on Facebook is really all I have right now.
Oh, you're on Instagram?
I'm not too social media savvy. Oh, also Instagram, Aaron Pesin.
Pesin. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll put links on heyhumanpodcast.com so people can find you easily. Do you have a main website, or is it solely the Facebook?
Just Facebook right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have big gigs coming up?
I'm doing another charity event on February 25th in Brooklyn in Park Slope at a bar called Shenanigans. If you live in Brooklyn and you're an animal lover, we're going to do another fundraiser for Sean Casey Animal Shelter. It's going to be a Mardi Gras party.
Great.
So that's on February 25th. Yeah, okay. That's my next one.
I love that you're supporting animals.
Yeah, they're my favorite people to engage with in and out of clown makeup. Because they don't care what you look like. They're not gonna, a dog has never been afraid of me as a clown. I don't have to try so hard.
One of the final things I want to ask you is, through your life, what has clowning taught you about yourself, and what has it taught you about human beings? And is it the same thing? Maybe it's the same thing, but...
Yeah, about myself, that I'm enough the way I am. I don't have to be constantly trying to make people laugh and make them feel good. That people love me just as I am. And I'm interesting enough without the clown nose. And everyone has a protective layer on them, whether it's a clown face or their clothes or just their scowl. And that sometimes all it takes is to smile. Just so what I would say to everybody out there, just try for one day to smile at every stranger you meet. That's what I do as a clown, and it's an amazing way to connect with people. Just smile, and if you get up the courage, wave, and if that inspires you, you could say hello. See where it goes from there. Sometimes all it takes is just to make that first connection. Just to start smiling at somebody.
Yeah, and for those people that their mask is a smile, that it's okay to take that mask off too, and be in the sadness and be for a day. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of us wear that other mask.
Oh yeah, the scowl.
No, the happy mask. Oh. Everything's fine. All is well. It's all good.
Yeah, but if you try smiling at a stranger, I don't know about where you are, but in New York, everyone's permanent expression out in public is basically,
frowny face.
No expression.
Yeah.
No expression. Stone face. Yeah. So if you start smiling, people get nervous.
What are you up to? Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You were very open to a stranger reaching out to you and saying, be on this show. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I hope you continue to make people happy and smiley and keep bringing joy to kids. Especially, I love that you work with autism and Down syndrome kids and young adults, because I think it's
very...
Yeah, I think that's important work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too, Susan.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.